People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, good morning. It's not the greatest of mornings. I'm actually waiting to go to the dentist. Anyone that knows me knows that I don't really like dentists and specifically needles, so it's a bit of a stress. But I've got a few hours to burn, so I thought I'd make some video content. And coincidentally, you've all seen, well, I'd like to think by the time you're seeing this vid, Ole Gunnar Solskjær, what we already knew, he was going to be announced as the official Man United manager. I think he signed a 3-year deal. Allegedly, the players were told on last Wednesday, before they broke off or something for the international break or whenever it happened. It couldn't have been the last Wednesday before they bust out. People, allegedly, the players were told in it before they broke off to go and do what they're doing for their countries. And it's been a long time coming, and obviously, it's only been 11 games. Football, I think football fans need to keep balance, because obviously, I'm sure, similar to, I said this about Arsenal, I'm sure United fans, obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjær, I'm a big fan of his because he's came in, feel-good factor, making players want to play, regardless of wanting to play for the club and all of these things, they're all bonuses, but wanting to play again, just look playing with a smile on their faces. So I'm happy for him. Of course, I hope it isn't successful. I'm an Arsenal fan, let's remember. But yeah, man, I just thought I'd offer my thoughts. Firstly, it's similar. I think you got to give him a chance, man. You've got to give him a chance. In fact, before I get on to that, I feel football fans, similar to Arsenal, we don't use balance enough. It's either all good or all great. And I felt when United were going on that unbeaten run, or whenever Ole Gunnar Solskjær was doing his madness, don't get it twisted, he had some good results. Apologies, people. I'm so sure he got a draw against Liverpool. I'm so sure, obviously, they beat us in the FA Cup. Obviously lost to us, I've got to say that, but FA Cup. I'm sure they beat Spurs as well, so they've done all right against the top 6. They've been grinding out results. Obviously, it's not his team, it's not his signings and things, and for me, United need a centre-half similar to us. They present too many chances. And sometimes when United have won games, they've got away with it. And I'm sure United fans would admit that, similar to us at times, when you're winning these games, there are times where the opposition could have taken points off you. We can go through United's recent results because that's definitely true. But I support the move. Not that my opinion matters. And again, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm not a United fan, so I don't necessarily care. But I feel it's a good appointment. Obviously, when it was first initially announced, obviously everybody would think, why Ole Gunnar Solskjær? He's got no experience, really. Well, he's got experience, but not at this sort of level. They'll point towards his failings at Cardiff, and they might hail up what he's done in his homeland. But I think what people fail to understand with football managers nowadays, more than anything, your people relations have to be spot on. The game has left Jose Mourinho for several reasons, people, but specifically his handling of players. Player power has always been a strong thing, but player power is even stronger now. Managers are even more dispensable. So you've got your relations with players, and we could sit here and say, I think he had a good relation with Rashford, but people at United or that I hear read about on Twitter saying it's a bit of a mixed match. You've obviously got Luke Shaw, you've got the Pogbas, you've got many examples. Ole Gunnar Solskjær, first and foremost, the player relations. One thing that for all Wenger's failings of recent years, he had good relations with players, so that kind of saw him through. And you're seeing it. Chelsea examples as well. The best examples of recent years. Player power is a big thing. So how you, arguably, away from, obviously still have to be a great manager, tactician, all of these things, but how you manage players, people management skills is arguably the most important. And Ole Gunnar Solskjær's that's the one thing I think he got spot on from the jump, man. Obviously, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjær, it's Man United. The people are gonna. He's not Jose Mourinho, so people are gonna listen to him. I feel the players away from just Jose, I feel it was a bit of a toxic environment. I don't feel the players. I always give the example. I felt the players were playing with a handbrake, people, for what it's worth. I don't feel they was free, and a lot of them didn't want to play for Jose. Clearly, he's left. It could have been Ole Gunnar Solskjær. It could have been anyone. You would have seen an intake or an increased input in how they perform, because the new managers come in. Some players that were out of sight, out of mind, might get a look in. Some players that were shooing for Jose might see their place conceded. So it's a feel good factor. People wanna play for the shirt again. People wanna play for the club. People got points to prove. And I feel Ole he's someone who can put his arm around people. I feel Lingard and Jose had a good relationship, but he puts his arm around people. First and foremost, he understands people. He understands how to deal with Pogba and things like that. Feel good factor. I think he needs his time. Clearly, if I look at two things, I'm not sure he's completely sold on Lukaku. I think he wants to use him in the squad. Don't necessarily feel he sees him as his strongest man. Obviously, I don't think he rates Alexis Sanchez, and they need a centre half, and he looks a bit mixed on Eric Bailly. Obviously, Smalling's been okay of recent, and Lindelof's turned a new leaf, so we'll see what happens in that regards. And I'm sure United fans, you know what you need and what you don't need. I'm not going to get into it, but I support it, man, because away from experience is how you deal with players, and I feel that's the biggest thing, man. That's probably why Scott Parker could probably make a success of things at Fulham, Lampard at Chelsea if he was to join tomorrow. It's how you deal with things. It's a big carrot that it's Ole Gunnar Solskjær, and for someone like Rashford, a United legend, to learn from and see day in, day out. You want to do that. He's clearly good with how he does things. I like his tactics as well from what he's shown, man. He wants to play attacking football. He wants to get the United way back and going. So between people management, between the tactics, between just them sort of things there, I think he's a shoo-in for the job, man. And he could make a success of it. Obviously, when they were going on the unbeaten run, it was all good. Now they might turn a new leaf now. Obviously, they lost to us and it's been a bit mixed, but they've been grinding out results. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure there's some United fans that are not completely sold on him. They'll look to Pochettino and things like that. And on the topic of Pochettino, I was interested. I'd love to know what happened there, to be fair, or if there was talks, because managers can always be sacked. But Tuchel, for example, signed a new one-year extension at PSG. Obviously, Zidane's returned to Real Madrid. Ole Gunnar Solskjær has been given a 3-year deal at Man United. So Poch will probably be linked with Chelsea next, but what would he be thinking? And obviously he's got to stay with the stadium business and do what he's doing at Spurs. But it's a good move for Solskjaer, man. We'll see how it goes. You'd also have to think about possibly, I know technically he was going to return to Norway at the end of the season, but clearly, like I said back then, this move was done with an eye on the permanent. And to be fair, like I said, then no disrespect to his club in his homeland, but if United come calling, they'd have to understand it. United would probably play a compensation package, and Solskjaer would dig his heels in and want to, quite rightly so, manage United. So probably when he first took over, there was talks in regards to possibly becoming permanent, possibly a compensation package. So maybe Solskjaer's always been the man United have wanted, and they got him in and they wanted to see how he goes, sort of thing. Because I think that's the approach you got to go for, man. Obviously, we all want experienced players and managers. Sorry, if Wenger left, obviously it's a dead example. But if there was a Sir Alex Ferguson that wasn't at Man United, if Wenger left, obviously you would want someone to come in with that sort of stature. But we're moving away from that, anyways, people. To be fair with you, United will see it in the next couple of years, but the whole head coach stuff, Poch is a head coach. Obviously, if Poch left Spurs tomorrow, he would have a lot of suitors, but in the grand scheme of things, obviously, take away the fact that it's Pochettino and what he's done for Spurs and just look at the structure, people. He's a head coach. That shows you're one of the most easily interchangeable people. It's not going to be like, clubs are not going to be, to a degree, you look at Eddie Howe and people like that, maybe them, but clubs are not going to be how it was under Ferguson and Wenger, where they're everything at plus a football manager. These managers are interchangeable, man. You look at Poch, he's a head coach. Look at the structure. I remember I was reading last year, I think he gave an interview where he even said he comes up with 10 potential targets, and whoever at Spurs, the higher powers that be, they come back with what they come back with, sort of thing. Unai Emery, in the grand structure of things at Arsenal, he is a head coach. He is the easiest to let go. He does not make any decisions beyond the sporting decisions. If they was to give him XYZ player, he has to work with it. Of course, he can have his input and things like that. And I think that's what United, I want to say what they need to do, but that's where football is going and that's where they're going, to be fair with you. Obviously, Woodward has a lot of question marks over Woodward himself, and people, United fans will tell you, and people in and around the structure of United, they need to pull their finger out and show their worth. I know United also tried to get a sporting director in Monchi, and the guy that they tried to get another former guy as well, I can't even remember, but that shows you that they're trying to change the structure. They're trying to go with the similar model. We know United's a bit of a different club in that, yeah, in fact, it is a different club in that Jose tried to come and, I wouldn't say be Sir Alex Ferguson, but kind of when he initially came, it's like he tried to continue that Chelsea sort of stuff with the demand stuff. That can't happen at United. And I do think as well, Ole Gunnar Solskjær has to be backed, because last summer, for as much as Jose has his shortcomings and all of these things, one thing I'll say, and again, I'm not a United fan, but he was out here, people, in my opinion, he was out here saying it's going to be a tough season. I need this player, I need that player, I need this. and you only bought Fred. No centre-half came in. You only got Fred. And then you obviously a lot of that will get lost because of Jose and his shortcomings. But I'm keen to see what happens under Ole Gunnar Solskjær now. Will he be backed? You'd be inclined to think he'd be backed. You'd be inclined to believe he's actually given his targets as to who he would like and things. And to be honest with you, we never know, and I'm just speculating, but maybe United did go around Europe possibly asking about Allegri's availability, Pochettino's, or someone like Carlo Ancelotti. These are just random opinions, and maybe they were heard different things. Maybe their demands or what they wanted to do, they found it easier with Ole Gunnar Solskjær, because no disrespect to Ole, but if Ole... I don't know, if Ole, and for instance, if I'm a chairman and Ancelotti asks for 50 million and Ole Gunnar Solskjær asks for 50 million, I'd give it to them both, but I'm more inclined to, if Ancelotti kind of digs his heels in, I'm more inclined to give it to him, sort of thing, where Ole would be a thing where, oh, can't you take 42? Make the 42 happen, man. Make it work for you, sort of thing. Because he's not, in terms of stature in the game, he was a terrific footballer, of course, but in terms of stature, he's not not Pochettino, that would make sense, Carlo Ancelotti. So we'll see how it goes, people, man. But yeah, man, I'm keen to see how it goes. Hopefully it goes terrible, because I want them to not get top 4, because you not know the race is tight. But we'll see how it goes, man. And to be fair, this is the sort of thing they need. This is the sort of thing clubs are doing, and they've tried the whole Jose. Obviously, Van Gaal, he was speaking the other day, but they've tried the whole Jose, Van Gaal sort of thing. They tried the prodigal sort of son in David Moyes. He was eyed up for that position for a while. Fellow Scotsman in Sir Alex Ferguson, handpicked by Sir Alex Ferguson. And again, for as much as Moyes had his shortcomings, the constant theme you're seeing behind the backdrop of these managers, they're not being supported. Or if they're being supported, don't get me wrong, if they've signed poor signings, they've signed poor signings. But if you look at Moyes, the signings he said he wanted and tried to get and allegedly were agreed, they didn't happen. It didn't happen, did it? Louis van Gaal, obviously, he has his own shortcomings to answer for. But him the other day, he's speaking about certain players that are coming with third and fourth choice targets at United, or the board were. Jose's obviously shortcomings again. I don't know who decided to sign Alexis Sanchez, but between the board and Jose, that's on him. But he also said, I gave you the example, he said they needed a centre-half. So the constant theme you're seeing with three or whatever, however managers I just said, three or so, they're kind of giving indirect signals, or the thing we can get from them is that the board at United or the people above need to pull their finger out. If they pull their finger out, United can return to the top again, because obviously if they get a manager that can play the United way, the attacking way and things, they give it a bit of time, United will never have issues with FFP unless something dramatic happens, so they can afford to literally buy their way out of trouble. We'll see what Solskjær and United are saying, but for now, I think I've offered my opinion, so I'm going to get out of it. People, deluded.